In a world that races forward at lightning speed, where instant replies, instant likes, and instant results have become the norm, waiting has become almost a lost art. Silence, often mistaken for weakness. Stillness, confused with stagnation. But what if I told you that some of the most powerful transformations in life don't happen in motion, but in the pause, that in the space where nothing seems to be happening, everything can change? Today I want to invite you into that space. A space that many fear, but few master. The quiet space of waiting, because there is magic in the wait. And if we learn to harness that silence, we don't just become more patient, we become stronger, wiser, more grounded. In a world that glorifies speed, immediacy, and constant activity, the idea of waiting can feel uncomfortable, even threatening. We are conditioned to believe that progress must always be visible, measurable, and fast. We're taught to run toward goals, to hustle relentlessly, to chase the next opportunity without pause. Yet, if we look closely at the lives of the most grounded, self-aware, and truly successful individuals, we often find a different rhythm, one that honors the space between action and outcome. Waiting, far from being a passive, empty act, can be one of the most active and transformative stages of personal development. It is in this quiet pause that clarity, reflection, and deep inner growth can occur. Clarity is something we often seek in moments of confusion or decision-making. But clarity does not arrive on demand. It cannot be forced, rushed, or manufactured. It emerges in stillness, often after the noise has subsided. When we're constantly in motion, mentally, emotionally, or physically, we leave no room for clarity to surface. Waiting slows us down just enough to hear ourselves again. It allows the dust to settle so we can see what is truly in front of us and within us. In the waiting, distractions fall away, and we begin to distinguish between what is urgent and what is important. This separation is vital, because without clarity, we chase the wrong things, say yes to the wrong commitments, and measure ourselves against standards that aren't even ours. Reflection is the second companion that waiting generously offers. In moments of pause, we are able to look back with honest eyes, not to regret, but to understand. When we reflect, we start to piece together patterns in our thoughts, behaviors, and decisions. We recognize cycles we may be repeating unconsciously, and we identify moments that tested us, shaped us, or awakened something new in us. This process of reflection becomes the soil in which wisdom grows. It is not enough to go through experiences, we must also grow through them. Waiting creates the time and space for this vital step. It allows our minds and hearts to catch up with our lives, to integrate what we've been through so that we don't just keep moving forward, we evolve. Beyond clarity and reflection, the most profound gift of waiting is inner growth. Growth that does not depend on achievement, recognition, or external validation. This is the quiet, steady expansion of the self that happens away from the spotlight. When we are waiting, perhaps for a breakthrough, a decision, a healing, or a new chapter, we are confronted with ourselves in a raw and honest way. Without the noise of business to distract us, we come face to face with our fears, insecurities, hopes, and beliefs. This confrontation is not always comfortable, but it is powerful. It is in this sacred discomfort that real transformation happens. We begin to build resilience, not because everything is going our way, but because we are learning to stand firm in uncertainty. Many of us try to avoid waiting because it feels like stagnation. We equate stillness with failure, as if being in a holding pattern means we're not living fully. But waiting is not the same as being stuck. Being stuck is unconscious, it's passive and disempowered. Waiting, on the other hand, can be intentional. It can be a deeply aware, even courageous, choice to trust the process rather than force it. It is choosing presence over panic, patience over pressure. When we approach waiting with intention, we become active participants in our growth, even if there's no visible progress on the outside. This inner shift, this choice to lean into the pause, can completely reshape how we view time, effort, and personal evolution. There is a quiet revolution that happens within us during these seasons. We start to detach from timelines we thought we had to meet. We question the urgency that once drove us. We realize that some answers only come after silence, and some doors only open when we stop trying to kick them down. Waiting teaches us trust, not in everything going perfectly, but in our ability to handle what comes, and in the idea that timing has a wisdom all its own. This kind of trust is liberating. It frees us from the anxiety of always needing to know what's next. It gives us space to be curious rather than controlling, open rather than rigid. That freedom opens the door to deeper creativity, connection, and courage. It's also during waiting that we begin to recalibrate our sense of identity. So often, we define ourselves by what we do, what we produce, or how others see us. But when we're waiting, especially during long or uncertain seasons, we are stripped of many of those external identifiers. And in that space, we ask bigger questions. Who am I without the title, the plan, the outcome? What do I truly value, desire, or believe in? These questions are not easy to sit with, but they are essential for anyone who wants to grow from the inside out. They peel away the layers we've accumulated and bring us back to something more authentic, more rooted. There is also a gentleness that waiting invites us into, a slowing down that lets us reconnect with parts of ourselves we may have neglected. Our intuition, our creativity, our compassion. In silence, we remember things we forgot we loved. We hear whispers of dreams we buried. We reconnect with our breath, our body, and our sense of being. This reconnection is not just a luxury, it's a necessity for sustainable growth. Because without it, we risk burning out in our pursuit of becoming. We rush through life so fast, trying to fix, improve, or succeed that we forget to simply be. Waiting returns us to being. It tells us it's okay to pause. That the pause is not the opposite of progress, it's part of it. Patience, too, is a muscle that only develops in the presence of waiting. And unlike the forced patience of standing in a line or waiting for a download, the kind of patience born out of meaningful waiting is rooted in wisdom. It understands that not everything valuable comes quickly, and that some of the most beautiful outcomes require time, tension, and trust. This kind of patience is not passive, it's disciplined. It's the kind of patience that chooses to stay grounded, even when the outcome is unclear. That holds faith even when the vision is blurry. It's a quiet strength that grows silently, but supports everything we do. Waiting also gives us the opportunity to observe, to become students of life again. When we're not rushing, we begin to notice things we overlooked. The way people speak, the way we react, the subtle shifts in mood or energy. Observation sharpens our awareness, and awareness is the foundation of personal growth. It allows us to step out of autopilot and make more intentional choices. Whether it's how we respond to stress, how we treat others, or how we care for ourselves, awareness born from waiting can transform the way we live. In seasons of waiting, we also develop emotional maturity. We learn to hold space for discomfort without needing to escape it. We learn to manage the tension between longing and surrender. This emotional maturity doesn't just serve us during the waiting, it strengthens our capacity for life as a whole. Because the truth is, life is full of unknowns, full of chapters that unfold slowly, outcomes that take time, and questions that aren't answered immediately. The better we become at waiting, the more equipped we are to handle life with grace, resilience, and openness. Finally, there is something sacred about waiting that defies logic. It is in these quiet, often hidden moments that the most meaningful transformations take place. We may not always be able to explain it or measure it, but when we look back, we'll often see that it was the waiting that changed us most. It was the silence that made space for truth. It was the pause that led to the breakthrough. And it was the moment we stopped pushing that we finally started growing. In the fast-paced rhythm of modern life, waiting is often seen as an inconvenience, a delay, a disruption, or even a failure to progress. We've been conditioned to fear waiting because it challenges our desire for control and immediate gratification. Yet, when we learn to embrace waiting, something remarkable begins to unfold within us. Waiting is no longer a frustrating pause, it becomes a powerful teacher, offering us the opportunity to cultivate patience and deepen self-awareness in ways that constant movement never could. Patience is a virtue often spoken about but rarely practiced in its fullest sense. It is more than just the ability to tolerate delay or discomfort. True patience is a dynamic quality, a strength that allows us to stay present and composed in uncertainty, to resist the urge to force outcomes, and to trust the process of growth and change. When we embrace waiting, we begin to understand that patience is not passive resignation. Instead, it's an active, conscious choice to hold space for what is unfolding, even when it's not yet clear or comfortable. The cultivation of patience through waiting starts with a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing waiting as wasted time or an obstacle, we come to view it as fertile ground. This mindset allows us to release the frantic energy of trying to rush through life and opens us up to the richness that emerges in stillness. As we practice patience, we learn to slow down our internal tempo, our racing thoughts, anxious feelings, and compulsive urges, and find a rhythm that aligns more closely with our natural pace. This slowing down is essential because it provides the quiet environment our mind and heart need to reset and refocus. With patience comes a deeper self-awareness. Waiting acts like a mirror, reflecting back to us who we truly are beneath the surface distractions. In moments of waiting, when there are no immediate demands or external pressures, we become more aware of our inner landscape, our fears, hopes, biases, and desires. This awareness is a cornerstone of personal growth because it allows us to observe our habitual reactions and patterns without judgment. When we watch ourselves with curiosity and kindness, we create a space for transformation. The journey of developing patience and self-awareness through waiting is not always easy. Our instincts often push us toward action and solutions, especially when we feel uncertain or vulnerable. The discomfort of not knowing can trigger impatience, frustration, or restlessness. But it is precisely in learning to sit with these feelings, acknowledging them without being overwhelmed, that we build emotional resilience. Each time we choose patience, we reinforce our capacity to tolerate ambiguity and complexity, skills that are invaluable in all areas of life. Moreover, embracing waiting helps us disentangle our identity from external achievements and validations. In our results-driven society, we are frequently defined by what we produce or accomplish. Waiting, however, removes those immediate metrics of success and invites us to explore who we are beyond our accomplishments. This exploration fosters a more authentic sense of self that is rooted in values, character, and presence rather than outcomes. As self-awareness deepens, we become less reactive to external circumstances and more anchored in our internal compass. This deepening self-awareness also enhances our relationships with others. Patience allows us to listen more attentively, respond more thoughtfully, and empathize more genuinely. When we are patient with ourselves, we naturally extend that patience outward, creating more space for compassion and understanding in our interactions. The ripple effects of embracing waiting extend far beyond personal growth. They touch every connection we have, improving the quality and depth of our relationships. In addition, waiting nurtures our creativity and problem-solving abilities. When we stop rushing, our minds can wander and make connections that were previously hidden. Patience invites reflection, experimentation, and the incubation of ideas. Many breakthroughs and innovations have emerged not from frantic pushing, but from deliberate pauses, moments when the mind is free to explore and discover. By embracing waiting, we give ourselves permission to think more deeply and creatively, which ultimately leads to richer and more meaningful outcomes. The practice of waiting also invites us to reconnect with the present moment. Often, impatience arises from a preoccupation with the future, an eagerness to reach a goal or resolve uncertainty. When we surrender to waiting, we shift our attention back to the here and now. This presence helps us appreciate the small details, the subtle beauties, and the simple joys that might otherwise go unnoticed. It grounds us in reality rather than projection, cultivating gratitude and mindfulness. These qualities enhance our well-being and equip us to face life's challenges with greater calm and clarity. Furthermore, embracing waiting can transform our relationship with time itself. We come to understand that time is not an enemy to be conquered, but a resource to be honored. Waiting teaches us that meaningful growth and change cannot be rushed. They require their own rhythms and cycles. This realization invites patience not only for specific situations but for life as a whole. It liberates us from the anxiety of deadlines and the pressure of immediate results. Instead, we learn to dance with time, honoring its flow and trusting in its wisdom. The development of patience and self-awareness through waiting also supports our capacity for healing. Emotional wounds, unresolved conflicts, and personal challenges often require time to mend. The urge to fix or bypass pain quickly can prevent true healing from taking place. Waiting allows us to engage with our pain authentically and compassionately, giving ourselves permission to feel and process emotions fully. In this way, patience becomes a healing balm, softening our edges and opening us toward acceptance and growth. As we continue to embrace waiting, we also develop a profound sense of humility. We recognize that not everything is within our control, and that life's mysteries often unfold in their own timing. This humility invites surrender, not as defeat but as wisdom. It teaches us to release our grip on certainty and to find strength in vulnerability. This surrender is deeply empowering because it frees us from the exhausting task of trying to manage every outcome and invites us to engage with life more openly and authentically. Waiting also encourages us to nurture hope. Patience without hope can feel empty and discouraging, but when coupled with hope, waiting becomes a hopeful act. It is a quiet affirmation that something meaningful is on the horizon. Even if we cannot yet see it clearly, this hope fuels perseverance and keeps us connected to our vision, dreams, and purpose. It transforms waiting from a passive endurance to an active, hopeful stance, one that sustains us through uncertainty and challenge. In embracing waiting, we inevitably confront and challenge our cultural conditioning. Our society often equates speed with success and values outcomes over processes. Choosing to wait, to be patient, and to cultivate self-awareness is a radical act of resistance against this norm. It is a declaration that our inner growth and well-being are worth more than superficial achievements. It is an invitation to slow down, to honor our rhythms, and to prioritize depth over haste. This shift is essential for creating a life that is fulfilling, balanced, and deeply connected to our true selves. In this way, waiting becomes a form of self-care and self-respect. It signals that we are willing to honor our needs, boundaries, and inner wisdom. It allows us to recharge, reflect, and realign before taking the next step. Far from being wasted time, waiting becomes a sacred pause, a time to gather strength and insight for the journey ahead. As we practice embracing waiting, we also cultivate greater adaptability. Life rarely unfolds exactly as we plan, and waiting often requires us to adjust our expectations and open ourselves to new possibilities. This flexibility is a key component of resilience and personal growth. The more comfortable we become with waiting, the more skilled we become at navigating change and uncertainty with grace and confidence. Through this journey, patience and self-awareness become intertwined qualities that reinforce and deepen each other. Patience provides the container in which self-awareness can flourish, while self-awareness helps us cultivate patience by revealing the triggers and habits that lead to impatience. Together, they create a powerful foundation for ongoing growth and fulfillment. In embracing waiting, we not only transform how we relate to time and uncertainty, but also how we relate to ourselves. We begin to recognize that the true journey of growth is not about rushing to a destination but about learning to be fully present with ourselves at every stage. This presence nurtures kindness, acceptance, and love, qualities that sustain us through life's challenges and illuminate our path forward.